In August of 2017, I was working as a cook at Chili's, and I had collapsed at work. And when I collapsed, I crawled to the manager's office and asked him to call 911. He refused to call 911 and told me to call a relative to come pick me up and take me to the emergency room. I just wanted to get to the hospital as quick as possible, so I did what he said. I called my uncle, who was in bed at the time. It was around 7:30, 7:45 in the morning, or around there, 8:45. Uh, it took him 45 to an hour to come pick me up. I was laying in the Chili's parking lot for 45 minutes to an hour, going into seizures, and nobody did anything. After I got out of the hospital later, I found out that he did not want to call 911 because if the ambulance were to show up, the police might have showed up, and because he's an illegal alien, he might have been deported. But he never told anybody I was at the hospital, and he never told anybody I was clocked in, so I was fired for no call, no show that day. So I spent 3 days in the hospital in the ACU, and it turns out I was an hour away from dying from septic shock caused by strep. I spent the next 3 months in bed because I atrophied 50% of my muscle mass. I don't know. Sepsis is a very, very dangerous disease. I've only ever heard of it like actually taking the lives of pregnant women, but it is very dangerous. And if your blood becomes infected, then you could get sepsis. But that's how I was fired from Chili's. And if you're gonna say anything right now about filing a lawsuit, getting a lawyer, I did. I tried. No lawyer in Oklahoma will sue any business for some reason. There was no Family Medical Leave Act, and by the time I actually did get a hold of a lawyer in Tulsa to file a claim for Family Medical Leave Act, the 4 months had already been done and gone, and apparently there's a statute of limitations before filing anything. I couldn't file for discrimination because there's a 3-month. No lawyer will do anything in Oklahoma to help you out. And remember this part for later. So I go through unemployment, and the unemployment security agent calls me, and he says, well, this is the reason why they say they fired you. Why did you get fired? I said, they fired me because I collapsed at work, and I went to the hospital. And the weird thing is, when they called my manager, the manager who fired me, not the illegal manager, he confirmed the story that I gave the commission, so they had to accept unemployment. So after the unemployment ran out, the water got shut off, and with the water shut off, only getting by on food stamp assistance and everything else help us. I am married with 4 kids. Someone calls the cops on us because there's a sewage leak in the backyard. Now, the sewage leak in the backyard, the water was shut off for a few weeks, and the kids were taking the baths at a family member's house. And when they came in for the sewage leak, they said that my children were playing in sewage. I said, that's impossible. I brought my children up to the police officer, and I said, look, dry from head to toe. And the kids were dry. And then the Officer Richards says, well, why is there that brown dirt on their shins? Well, it's summer, they're outside playing in the yard, and that's just dirt that comes from natural play. Every kid in the neighborhood has the same amount of dirt on their shins. Using that as probable cause, she enters the house. I tell her not to because my wife and my other 2 children are asleep. I have 4 children. And when she goes in, she sees that the water's shut off and the house is a little dirty. Cluttered is what I call it because you're moving stuff to this room. But they took the kids that day. Now, the CPS gets involved and the children are put into foster system because we have absolutely no family members who would help us out to take the kids in. Now, all of what it took was 2 days. We could have had the water turned back on in 2 days, and the house could have been cleaned up in 2 days because there was money coming in exactly 48 hours from that time to get the water turned back on. Now, we get through CPS and everything, and they give us a service plan. Oh, let me back up a bit. The day they were taken, I was arrested for yelling in my front yard. Disorderly conduct is what they called it. And I was in jail for 3 days. So when the children were taken that night, I did not make it to the first court appointment for the adjudication hearing, and I did not make it to the first family team meeting, what CPS calls it, because I was in jail. Now, when I do go to visit the CPS, they say that we have to do this individualized service plan. Now, the individualized service plan was basically get the water turned back on, fix up the house, get a job. Now, those 3 things were taken care of almost immediately. The service plan in the courtroom changed to we got to take some parenting classes, I got to seek out mental health, and take a drug assessment. Well, the drug assessment was after later because there was no drugs involved, there was no abuse involved, and the neglect charges were for inadequate housing and shelter. Now, as soon as the house was fixed up to the point where it was adequate housing and shelter, and I had had a job at this point, and I had had 2 raises and a promotion. I had had 2 raises and a promotion to assistant manager. Now, this wasn't enough for CPS. But at the second court date, Judge Ingalls said that all we had to do is get the water turned back on and we'll work on reunification. Which was pretty simple because most of the money I was making is going toward fixing the house and all that, and it was a $469 water bill. So the next check that week, the water was turned back on. So you'd expect that at the third court date, there would be reunification process. But the CPS, they keep telling the courts that we're not doing our side of the bargain. We're not doing our plans. Got the paperwork right here showing that we were doing our plan since day one. But our public defenders told us just keep quiet, listen to the judge, and everything will go your way. So, while CPS is telling the judge we're not doing anything, reunification is not going to happen. What they did, however, do was tell the courts that we're not doing enough. So the house is fixed, the water's turned back on, the sewage leak is fixed. We replaced almost like a complete renovation of the house just to make it more appealing cosmetically and keep all the hazards away from the children. But that wasn't enough for CPS. The judges changed, and at the fourth court date, it suddenly became about, well, your wife needs to get a job too. Well, if we're following our service plan, the house is fixed, the sewer is fixed, and everything on the service plan is fixed, how come reunification is not in order? So what happened next was they said we need to take a drug assessment. And we're going to a church for parenting classes at this point. But the church kept telling us how to whip our children properly. The DVD they made us watch told us that we have to use our hand to whip a child because if you're whipping a child with anything other than your hand, it's abuse. But the counselor who is not on the video tells us, no, you use a switch or a belt because a hand is a tool of love. We told this to CPS and they changed our parenting classes to a different location that wasn't quite church related. Now, at the new parenting class, the new parenting caseworker was emailing the CPS caseworker to refer my drug assessment because you cannot do a drug assessment without a referral. Well, he never made the referral until 2 weeks after they filed for termination. He slow played the referral that wasn't even on the initial service plan, and they used that to try to file for termination. Now, on the fifth court date, the court report said that I had a problem with church because of what happened to me in church as a kid. They said that my children would not be in the right environment if they were with a dad who did not believe in going to church. I instantly went to my First Amendment. I said that's wrong because even if I were Muslim, Hindu, or atheist, it wouldn't matter because that's not something you can take children over. In Oklahoma, you can. In Oklahoma, they can do anything. There is no law here. Now, we do everything. Everything's finished, everything's complete, and they go ahead and file for termination. And me and my wife are sitting here. How is this even possible? Me, I go forward to trial because I want to fight this. Because everything, we have the evidence. We have stacks and stacks and stacks of evidence that we've completed everything we were told. On my end, they went to a jury, and based on an education and neglect charge, the jury the jury saw pictures of the before and after house. They were so shocked at the before pictures. Well, if you take a picture of anyone's house and you get close up on a dirty spot, you don't take pictures of the clean area, then the pictures aren't going to look bad. But they totally denounced all the lies that the CPS was telling in all this. They said that there was human and animal feces on the ground, yet out of 250 photographs they took, there's not one photograph of feces anywhere. They tried saying that the house was without electricity, but in 3 of the photographs, it is clear there's electricity in the house. They pretty much lied on the stand at the jury trial. And the judge even told the jury that the CPS testimony is purely opinion and not based on fact. So when I provided my evidence, what evidence I was allowed to provide, see, the jury wasn't allowed to see all my evidence. I'm facing down a lawyer who is working for the children. I'm facing down a lawyer who's working for the state. And they're all teaming up working against me. And my facts did not beat out on the CPS opinion. So I get on the internet and I do some research, and it turns out that there's this law that Bill Clinton passed in the 90s where the Department of Human Services, Child Protective Services, they get a $40,000 bonus in federal funding for each child they put in custody. And I am appealing the case because the jury did side with CPS, even though there were no drugs or abuse involved. There was an inadequate housing charge that has been fixed. It was fixed within a month of the children being taken. My wife signed over a legal consent because her lawyer told her that that would be the best option if she wanted to see her children again. Now, the thing about that is, even though she signed the consent, she's not allowed to see the children. They're telling her that even if she gets in good with the fosters, well, everybody already knows what foster parents are like. They're not going to let the real parents come in and do anything. The foster parents that have my 2 youngest think I'm an atheist, and they think I'm pure evil. And they're the kind of judgmental people who you can automatically tell just from meeting them. They think they're better than you right off the bat. And there's a lady named Shelley. She lives down south. She had 2 of our 2 oldest sons, and one of my sons, Jasper, started acting out, and he was only 6 years old. So acting out for a 6-year-old, especially if you've met him and you knew him, it's totally tolerable and could be handled. But Shelley had just found this new fiance, wanted to spend some time with him, and she according to the story I got during a visitation from Jasper's brother Dimitri, is she bought him Christmas presents but wouldn't let him play with them unless he did everything she told him to do. So if you buy someone a Christmas present and tell them not to play with it, then yeah, you can expect him to act out. Jasper is on his seventh or eighth foster right now, and we're trying to get all four of our kids back. I received a call back from, I think it was the Attorney General. I have her phone number right here. She's telling me how to file a countersuit against CPS. This whole thing could have easily been avoided if we had one family member who could have taken the kids for 2 days. But like I told my wife, we don't have family. The only family we have is us and the kids. Now, CPS even used it against me that I got internet. They think that I put the internet up. I said I got internet after the children were taken. And that should let you know that financially we're in a spot where we can take care of ourselves and the internet and everything that goes forward with it. But no, I am going all the way with it, even if it takes me being shut down by the Supreme Court. Oklahoma is trying to say I have no rights, no First Amendment rights. If I try to go protest, they're going to throw me in jail. No Second Amendment rights because children shouldn't be around guns. Even if I did get them back, I'm not allowed to have a gun because guns are dangerous around children. So there go my Second Amendment rights right there. The way they found out the water was shut off, there went my Fourth Amendment rights right there. I can't plead the Fifth because that's an automatic admission of guilt. I have no constitutional rights, none. They're trying to take my children based on the facts that I am poor and that I don't go to church. They also try to say there's an education neglect charge where me and my wife thought that homeschooling would be better than public schooling because there are too many bullies in public school because me and my wife are products of bullying. Not only from the school system and public, we were bullied by our families. So, what would you do? I'm still actively trying to find an attorney for the Chile situation. I'm still trying to find a lawyer for filing a lawsuit for CPS, but nothing. It's like lawyers don't do law anymore unless you're rich or a business owner. There are people right now that have had children in the hospital who tested positive for meth. They have their children back. This is only happening to us because we're a family with 4 children. That's a lot of federal money. That's a lot of federal funding for them. So they're going to attack the poor, and they think that we're so poor, we're not going to fight back. I've tried starting a petition with change.org. I tried 5 different GoFundMe's. It's plain to see that I'm in this alone. Nothing's going to happen. I'm putting this out there to show my 4 children that not only have I been, your mom and I have been fighting to get you back from day one. And even though the state of Oklahoma is abusing every one of our rights, constitutional, parental, civil, even though Oklahoma has stripped us of all of our rights, we're not going to stop fighting to get you back. Even if it kills me, I will get my 4 children back. Let me know what you think.